This week's session is going to be a very simple practice on the floor with lots of stretching and opening up muscles that tend to get very tight from things we do all day, sitting at a desk being one of them. One prop that I would suggest you have is a yoga belt, or simply a belt from your jeans, or a scarf, or anything that creates a little bit more length and space for you. And we will get started. Before we do, I'll introduce myself. I'm Debbie Lewis, yoga teacher and director at QSuper Yoga Australia. So thank you so much for joining me today. And we'll start today just laying down on your mat. You can lay yourself out completely flat with the heels on the floor and the palms turned up. Now, if that gives you any discomfort as you do that in your lower back, then just bring the soles of the feet to the floor and let the knees touch together, and that will just ease any discomfort in the lower back area. But if it feels okay, legs are long, palms turned up, just give yourself a moment to settle and start to notice the way that you've laid your body down. Start to become aware of your feet and notice if one leg feels a little longer than the other. Noticing your hips and if one hip feels higher or lower than the other, knowing that we all have asymmetric parts of ourselves. As you travel up the spine, just start to notice the way that your shoulders sit, and which shoulder sits higher and lower than the other, which arm is longer or shorter than the other, and how is your head? Is that in alignment with your spine, or is it rolled off slightly to the left or the right? Where's your nose in relationship to your face? Is that on the right side or the left side because you're slightly rolling with the head? No right or wrong, just noticing how you naturally align yourself. And then become aware of your bones. Just feel the weight of your bones. Give them a moment just to become a little heavier and a little more grounded. Letting the muscles soften off the bones. Letting the fingers soften and the eyes. And just start to notice your breath now. Take a few rounds of becoming aware of where your breath naturally moves to as you breathe in and as you breathe out. And I invite you to start to deepen your breath in through your nose and letting the breath travel all the way down through the throat and into the belly. And as your belly pulls back to the spine, feeling the breath traveling up and out. So in this way, start to deepen your breath. We tend to breathe very shallow through the day. So use this practice, if nothing else, just to breathe deep and full into the belly, through the nose. You might like to let this breath out through the mouth. A deep sigh of release and letting go of tension, as if it can melt away on the out-breath. Inhaling and making space in the body. Exhaling, releasing anything that no longer serves you. Breathe that out. One more time like that. And on your next inhale, starting to reach your arms behind you, stretching long. And you can push out through the heels and pull the toes towards your shins and take a full body stretch here. I think you're trying to touch the back of the room with your fingers and the front of your room with your heels. And on your exhalation, bringing your right thigh in towards your belly and holding your shin. If you find it's hard to hold your shin, you can use your strap or towel, whatever you're using. Wrap that around your shin. But otherwise, hold on to the shin here and compress your belly by pulling that thigh nice and close. Feel like you're trying to draw the shoulders down to the ground as well, so you get broad through the back body, so the shoulders don't lift up off the ground. And while you're here, start to circle your ankle just in one direction. And then in the other direction. And as you slow that movement down, you're starting to bring your hands that are on your knee to a circle. So just circling the knee. And you can remove one hand if you like, but feel that the circling of the knee travels all the way down the thigh, right into the hip joint, right where the ball and socket joint sits in the hip. So it's this area that you're really trying to get a good circle on. So you can start to get the synovial fluid all moving and get it feeling viscous to give you greater mobility. You can even remove both hands and move really freely with that leg if that feels good for you. If that feels too much, just bring your hand back onto your knee and take that movement again, more supportive. But with the circles, start to make them smaller, like ripples on a pond, coming in until eventually you find your way to stillness. You can pull that right thigh in. And then releasing and slide the leg along. Once again, take a full body stretch. You can actually yawn if you like as you reach back and push through the heel. And then as you exhale, pulling that left thigh close and squeeze it in. As you pull it towards you, broaden the shoulders towards the ground as much as you can. And then start to circle your left ankle. And you might hear a couple of clicks and cracks. And that's all good. Taking it in the other direction. And as you slow that down, you're starting to circle the knee. You can start small, and then the ripples of the pond getting bigger and bigger, maybe with no hands, until you're just exploring how the hip feels, just starting to feel into any areas that feel tight. Maybe you get a little bit of crunching. Maybe it feels smooth all the way around, just noticing that. And then in the opposite direction, big at first, and starting to bring those circles smaller and smaller, until eventually you come all the way back to stillness, drawing that thigh back in towards your belly. And as you release, once again, reaching your arms long, pushing through the heels, and then bring both of your thighs in towards your belly, holding onto the shins or wherever you can hold, squeezing the thighs tight, maybe having a rock here, massaging through the back body and letting there be a bit of a massage on the lower back. And as you slow that down, right hand to right knee, left hand to left knee, and start to circle your knees like one big knee, taking them in a circle in one direction, and you'll feel that massaging the lower back, the outer hip, the mid back, the other outer hip, as you journey around, and then in the opposite direction when you're ready. Just feeling yourself ironing out any tight spots, until eventually bringing yourself to stillness. The next movement is extremely good to tune into the breath, but also it's very good if you have any lower back pain. Start to just gently push your knees away, and you'll notice as you push your knees away that the lumbar spine starts to lift off the ground where my hand is here. And then as you pull the thighs back, the lumbar spine connects to the floor again. So by drawing your knees forward, your belly lifts slightly and the spine lifts, and as you pull your knees back, the spine lowers and flattens. So just moving with your breath here. Exhaling as you pull the thighs towards you, and inhaling as you draw them away. Just feel the breath. So inhaling as the knees move away, as you create space, and exhaling as you squeeze the knees towards you and push the air out. Just take a few rounds here, connecting the movement and the breath together. Feel this rocking on the lower back, the release of tension on the lower back. One more time. And the next time the feet come forward, just release the knees and bring the feet down to the ground. With the feet on the ground, just lift the toes and then plant the feet back down. Check that the heels are at a place where you can touch the back of the heels with the fingers, and check the feet are no wider than the hips. So if they're fairly wide, bring them in, and you don't want the knees to touch together or fall out. So try to keep the knees aligned above the middle toes. You can have the palms connecting down onto the ground and slowly start to lift your tailbone. And then lift the lower spine and lift as much as you can of the upper spine. So you come into this bridge pose. Check on the knees, check they're still aligned. And then slowly imagining the spine is like a pearl necklace, one vertebrae at a time, or one pearl at a time, releasing it back down to the ground until the tailbone is the last thing to connect with the earth. Now you can keep the hands there, or on your inhale, this time reach the arms up and over. And as you do that, you can reach the fingers as if you're trying to touch the skirting board behind you, lifting through the hips. Keep looking at the ceiling so the neck stays long. Lift the hips a little more if you can. You'll feel the glutes engaging. And then slowly starting to release all the way down, one vertebrae at a time until the hips reconnect, and so do the hands. One more time like that, moving with the breath, inhaling and rising up. Exhaling and floating all the way back down. Bringing your thighs into your chest, having a rock, releasing a little tightness in the hips. You can circle if you like. And then grabbing your yoga belt or whatever you are using and looping that around the ball of the right foot, and then taking that right leg up towards the ceiling. Now with the left leg, start to slide the left foot away. So the left heel is pushing as if it was pushing into a wall at the end of the mat. Now if you find it hard to straighten your leg, if you find it's bending, just take it long, but you can let it move forward a little. So you want to get length in the leg, so we're opening up through the hamstrings as much as possible. If you're a little more open, you can start to walk your hands up the belt as if you're trying to reach for your foot. Now you'll notice as I do that my shoulders lift off the ground. So see if you can start to roll your shoulders back down to the ground at the same time as you're climbing the hands up the belt. So there's a bit of a lift with the hands, but a release down with the shoulders. Keep this left leg active. You can pull the toes of both feet back to your shin. And then take your right hand to your right thigh. Just push that right thigh towards the end of your mat. So you create a little more space around the hip and the side of your torso. And breathe in deep into the belly here, as if you could take the breath right into the hips. And then take your belt to your right hand. You can take your left hand on your hip, and that's just going to act as a guide to try to keep your hip grounded. Now as you start to take your leg out to the right, this left hip's going to want to lift up, but try to keep it earthed. So
keep that left hand supporting it. So you may find you don't go very deep at all before that left hip lifts up. So stay really true to what it's doing, even the slightest lift. Come back and start to just explore a little more. It's very good if you've been sitting all day. It starts to really work into the inner thigh muscles and work with any tightness around the hips. You can feel like you're drawing the right toes towards the back of the room as well. Keep this left hip grounded. Keep pushing through that left foot and coming all the way back to the midline. Switching the belt into the other hand and take your right arm out to a T. Inhale. And as you exhale, start to take your right leg across the body. So you might get to a point where you feel like you don't want to go any further. If you can continue and bring the little toe side of that left foot onto the floor so that your hips stack. You want to feel like you're rolling this right hip away from you, as if you're taking the right sit bone towards the left heel to create more space on the right side. You can keep breathing into the chest, looking along the right arm if you like, or just look up to the ceiling if that's better for your neck. And coming all the way back to the center. If you're not used to that, you might have found your legs shook a bit. That's quite normal, and I advise do that a little more if that did happen to you. But try that, taking the legs long, and just observe. Are there any differences now between the right leg and the left leg? Does one feel longer or shorter or lighter or heavier than the other? And then pulling your thighs in towards your belly and giving them a hug, maybe a rock. Right foot to the ground. The belt loops around the ball of the left foot. And taking the left leg long. And as you push that left heel up towards the ceiling, start to slide the right heel away from you. You can take your left hand to your left thigh and push that left thigh away from you. Walk your hands as high up the belt as you can, and then feel your shoulders rolling down towards the mat. Once again, if your leg is bent or you can't get it vertical, that's fine. Just take it longer and let it drop down a little. Take the breath into the belly. You can even imagine you're taking the breath into the hamstring muscles, the 3 big hamstring muscles. And then taking your belt into the left hand. Your right arm can move out like a T. In fact, take your right hand to your right hip to feel that. What's happening here? Use that right hand as a guide. And as you take that left leg out to the side, just notice you get a big opening all along where the seam of your trouser runs. You can pull the leg back in space a little. But check. You may be able to go quite wide, but is that hip still grounded? And are you twisting through the left side of the belly? So for people who are very flexible, if your foot comes all the way down to the ground very quickly, if you're very open in the hip, start to engage the abdominals. So you'll feel the right side of your abdominals engaging to create space and create strength as well as flexibility. And then coming all the way back to the midline and take your right hand to the belt, left arm out wide, and slowly, slowly starting to explore. Now as you do, you might, going slower, you'll start to notice spots that open up. As you take your leg over, just notice if you can roll onto the little toe side of the right foot, the hips stack. You can roll this left thigh towards the right foot, creating space all the way around the hips. your way all the way back to the midline. Removing your belt and letting the leg lay long. Turning the palms up, just observing. We're going to make our way to kneeling. So you can either just roll onto your side, or you might like to hug your thighs in and rock and roll along the spine, forwards and backwards, massaging from tailbone to crown, or certainly to the neck, the cervical spine, until eventually, as you come up, making your way all the way onto all fours. With your hands under your shoulders and your knees under your hips, start to lower the belly, so coming into a cow spine or spinal extension, a small back bend. And as you bring your chin to your chest and your tailbone forward, coming into cat. So the belly is pulling up to the spine, and you're lifting the abdominals up into the back of the spine, and then inhale, releasing down. But just taking a few of those at your own time, chin to chest, rounding the spine as you flex it, and inhaling and releasing. Exhaling and inhaling. You may find that the breath travels at a different pace to what I'm saying, so just take a few rounds just feeling into this and letting your awareness travel to the spine as you open and close the vertebrae. And just finishing on your cat spine, pushing the knees into the floor, pushing the hands into the floor, rolling the spine towards the ceiling, and then starting to flatten your back, finding your tabletop spine. From here, keep your hips where they are, but slide your hands forward. If it's available, your chest can start to lower towards the ground, even your chin, so you start to come into a puppy pose, which just enables you to really release through the back of the shoulders, where we get very tight, letting yourself release a little more. You might like to start to activate the arms and pop up onto your finger pads. And then from here, walk your hands off to the left and feel like you're just walking the right fingers slightly forward of the left fingers. So you open through the right rib cage even more deeply. As you breathe, feel like you're puffing up that right rib cage. And coming all the way back to the midline, and just spider walking the left fingers slightly forward of the right, so you can then open through the left rib cage and breathe more deeply into that. And coming all the way back to the midline, bringing your hands once again underneath your shoulders. And then take your right leg long and just curl the right toes underneath. So you can feel yourself just lengthening through the back of the calf. And start to lift your right leg, pushing through that right heel. If you like to challenge yourself, reach your left arm forward as well and reach the left finger, so there's a whole diagonal line through the body. Now you can choose to lower the hand or keep it lifted and bring your knee to your nose. Or if you have the arm lifted, you can bring your left elbow in towards your knee. And then inhale and long. Exhaling, drawing in, whichever option you're choosing. Inhale, long. Exhale, drawing in. Inhale, long. And then lowering the hand and the shin back down to the ground. And taking your left leg long, curling the left toes underneath. Take a moment to push through that left heel and open the left calf. And then lift the left leg. If you like, reach your right arm forward. So there's a diagonal line from right fingers to left heel. Option to lower the hand and just move the knee, or exhaling, drawing in, and inhale, long. Exhaling, drawing in. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. And then lowering your hand and the shin all the way down to the ground. And once again, we'll come back onto the back body. Taking your legs long. And then once again, bring your right thigh in. You can take your right arm out to a T. Take your left hand to your right knee. And just take a twist. Now, if that feels tight for you, just take a small twist. If you like, you can take a deeper twist and just explore how your spine feels as you go deeper into that twist. You can always put something under that right knee if you're quite deep but you want some support. Look along that right arm so there's a rotation through the whole spine from the crown of the head all the way down to the hips. Coming back to the midline, drawing the left thigh in as you lengthen the right leg, right hand, left knee, left arm out wide, and once again exploring your twist. Your head can roll to look along that elongated arm, using your breath to help you go deeper. Let go of anything you no longer need with the out breath to unravel any tension in the body. And coming all the way back to the midline. And then taking your legs long, turning your palms up. You may like to put cushions underneath your knees and allow yourself this time to sink back into stillness. And as you lay yourself down, just take a moment to really feel the back body on the ground. To really feel the touch of your heels connecting down to the earth. And anywhere in contact with the earth, anywhere on the back of the legs or the hips, the back of the shoulders and the arms, the back of the head, let that become even more weighted, as if you could imprint on the mat and create more weight. Letting the front of your body feel light as a feather, softening down into the back body. The skin of your face softening and releasing, letting go of any tension. The skin on the whole body softening and releasing. And letting your fingers and your toes soften, and the tongue and the eyelashes and eyelids. The eyeballs just moving away from the eyelids. Even the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere of the brain just gently moving away from the skull. Giving yourself this time to drop into stillness, like a pebble that has been dropped into a lake, leaving ripples on the lake. And as it descends, it finds stillness, just like your mind. All the busyness, all the chatter. Underneath all of that, there's a still place that always exists. Drop into that. And allow yourself to rest there in Shavasana.
can choose to stay here for as long as you like and just turn off the sound of the video. If you'd like to start to breathe a little deeper. In breath and out breath, elongating. Start to find movements of your fingers and your toes. Your wrists and your ankles. Maybe stretching the arms above the head and having a full yawn, full body stretch. Bending your knees and just rolling onto your right hand side and resting there for a few breaths. And with your left hand slowly pushing the ground away and making your way into a seated, cross-legged. And feel the length of the spine. Bringing your hands together, palm to palm in front of the heart center. And breathe in deep through the nose, through the throat, all the way down to the lower lungs. Exhale out through the lungs, through the throat, through the mouth, into the air. And then lowering your forehead to your fingertips. And just thank yourself for giving yourself this time today. Namaste. I hope you enjoyed the first session. I look forward to the next session with you. I will see you soon. Any questions, please do send an email. Thanks very much.